Mr. Finchley Goes to Paris. Adapted for radio by Andy and Eric Merriman from the book of the same name by Victor Canning. Episode 1, in which Mr. Finchley is courting disaster, catches a caterpillar and is driven to distraction.
Oh, sorry, Mr. Finchley. I didn't realise you were in here. I won't disturb you.
Oh, that's all right, Mrs. Patton. Just having a quiet little brandy and soda. Are you busy?
Well, I haven't quite finished the ironing.
Well, never mind about that. I actually wanted to have a talk with you. Do sit down.
Oh. Thank you.
Now, tell me something. How many years have you been my housekeeper?
Oh, more years than I care to remember.
And do you know, I don't even know your first name.
It's Hilda.
Ah, yes, of course. Well, Mrs. Patton, you see, for some time now I've been thinking of marriage.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, and I want you to be quite honest with me. Do I seem... I mean, the thing is, what do you think of my appearance?
Well, I don't know. I wouldn't like to say.
Oh, no, come on, this is very important. I want the truth.
If you insist.
I do.
Very well.
I mean, I know I'm getting on in years.
Yes, Mr. Finchley.
And I'm a little thin on top.
Yes.
And I admit to having what can only be described as, well, a well-filled figure.
Yes.
But what do you think?
Well, I think you've said it all, really.
Ah, so I'm old, bald and fat, am I? Well, thank you very much, Mrs. Patton.
Mr. Finchley, you're very, what's the word?
Distinguished?
Yes, that'll do.
You see, when a bachelor reaches the age of, well, my age, and he's comfortably situated, he has to take a good look at himself.
Yes, or get someone else to take a good look at him.
Yes, exactly. And there comes a time when, well, the point is, you see, it's not just what I think about me, it's what the other person thinks.
The other person?
Yeah, a certain widow of my acquaintance.
You do know that Mr. Patton is still alive, don't you?
Yes, of course. What's that got to do with it? You see, I've no idea if, this, who other person shares my, feelings.
Why shouldn't she?
Well, I don't know. I'm not very experienced in these matters, and I'm not sure that I'm worthy of her.
What makes you think that?
Well, because you must have noticed after all these years my, little faults and idiosyncrasies.
Well,
Well, I'm very set in my ways, and I admit I've got some very irritating habits.
Yes. But you don't have to point them out.
Well, I suppose you're right. Although it's only fair that Mrs. Crantel is clear about any deficiencies in my character.
Mrs. Crantel?
Yes.
Oh, the certain widow of your acquaintance.
No, Mrs. Patton, you do understand this conversation is strictly between us. I don't want anybody to know about this.
Oh, yes, sir. But you are going to mention it to Mrs. Crantel, aren't you?
Of course. In fact, I'm intending to propose to her this very evening.
The best of luck, then, Mr. Finchley. Oh, and if you want my advice, don't mention your faults. If I were you, I'd tell her about your more attractive features.
Oh, yes, that's a good idea. It's a very good idea.
Thank you.
Yes, my more attractive features, yeah. Now, what do you suggest?
Perhaps I'd better get on with the ironing.
Later that evening, Edgar Finchley strode across Hampstead Heath towards Highgate and Mrs. Crantel. It was a warm evening, and the heath was alive with people. Boys played cricket, lovers walked beside the pools, barking dogs raced across the slopes, and old men sat contentedly upon seats, glad that another summer was on its way. Mr. Finchley was, however, oblivious to all of this, preoccupied with rehearsing his proposal of marriage.
Madam, I kneel before you, trembling with uncertainty lest you should reject my humble proposition. If my love is denied hope, then my life is barren, and I am left a very miserable man. Oh, dear, that doesn't sound right at all. I must give it some more thought.
Too late, Mr. Finchley. You're almost there.
Am I? Oh, no.
Yes.
Oh, I don't know why I'm putting myself through this agony. It's best I forget the whole thing. I know. I just won't ring the bell.
Then permit me to do it for you.
Oh, no, don't. Oh, good evening, Mrs. Crantel.
Ah, Mr. Finchley. Do come in. This is a surprise. You haven't been to see me for a whole week.
No,
Now then, what excuses have you to offer?
Only one excuse, and that is a matter that's been concerning me for some time.
And what, may I ask, is that?
Well, why don't you sit down before I tell you?
Very well. It's not bad news, is it?
Well, I sincerely hope not. My dear Mrs. Crantel, I've been giving this subject a great deal of thought and feel that the time has come for me to...
Well, if it isn't Edgar Finchley.
Pardon?
Sorry.
Mr. Finchley, you know my brother David, don't you?
Yes, we have met.
David's staying with me for a few days.
That's right. Every now and then I feel the pull of the metropolis and must come from my retreat in the savage north to sample the effete pleasures of civilization.
Oh, yes.
A bit like the old days in Australia. I don't know if I ever told you about when I was mining for tungsten.
Yes, frequently.
After months of working out in the bush, we'd saddle up and ride a couple of 100 miles to the nearest town for a bit of life. Of course, that was nothing compared to when I was in the Amazonian jungle or even up the Zambezi. You know, one day, when I've the time, I really must write my autobiography.
Well, that'll be something for everyone to look forward to.
Would you like to look around the garden, Mr. Finchley?
Oh, yes, I'd love to.
Excuse us, David. We won't be long.
Righto, I'll still be here.
Oh, good. Oh, it's nice to breathe some fresh air.
And you must smell the wallflowers. The scent is absolutely beautiful.
I'm surprised that mentioning the garden didn't set your brother off on his man-eating orchid story.
Oh, dear, yes. You know, although I like David, there are times when he does become rather tiresome. As he gets older, he gets worse.
Well, as people lose their youth, you know, they get very settled in their habits, and it's not easy to shake them off.
That's true. People like ourselves, for instance. After all, we're getting on in years and may have formed habits and ways of life which aren't at all acceptable to others.
Oh, yeah, no, it's funny you should say that.
But I used to hope that one day David would get married and it would change him. But he didn't. And I realise now that it was just as well. Because marriage wouldn't have changed him.
No, I don't suppose it would.
After all, I mean, marriage between older people can sometimes prove more difficult.
Are you saying you don't approve of marriages between older people?
Oh, no. You can't make hard and fast rules about such things, obviously, but speaking for myself, I rather doubt whether I shall get married again.
Oh.
Not even if some handsome cavalier came along and proposed to me.
Oh, dear, not even for a handsome cavalier?
Why should I? I'm very happy as I am. Marriage would only mean that I should go and live in some man's house, and what has been a pleasant friendship would probably be spoiled.
Yes, I see what you mean.
But what do you think?
Well, as a bachelor, I don't pretend to be able to speak authoritatively about it.
Surely you have an opinion? Or do you agree with everything I've said?
No, not exactly. But, well, I'm not really sure what I think. At least, earlier, I had a rough idea of what I was going to say to you tonight.
And I think I had a rough idea of what you were going to say.
Did you?
Oh, yes. But now you seem to have lost the courage of your convictions.
Have I? Well, if you say so.
You're doing it again, Mr. Finchley.
Oh, dear, it's awfully difficult, isn't it?
Yes, it's obviously too difficult for you. Shall we go back inside? Perhaps we could ask David to tell us his puma hunt story.
Yeah. Mrs. Patton! Mrs. Patton! Where are you?
Just coming. Did you want some more coffee?
I didn't want coffee at all. I wanted tea. tea is what I always have for breakfast.
I told you we'd run out, Mr. Finchley.
Well, we'd better get some more then, haven't we? And look at this. The newspaper boys delivered the wrong newspaper.
Well, that's nothing to do with me.
And I suppose the egg's nothing to do with you? Hard-boiled, you know, I like them soft.
Would you like me to do some more?
Oh, no, don't bother. I'll just have indigestion for breakfast, that's all. But you could do something about this salt cellar. It's damp, and when I banged it on the table just now, the bottom came off and I was left with a lap full of salt.
I hope you remember to throw a pinch over your left shoulder.
Oh, what for? Good luck?
I gather it didn't go very well last night.
No, it did not. Woman is impossible. She doesn't know what she wants, and that brother of hers is even worse. Him and his interminable stories all through dinner.
Oh, dear.
Oh, you must forgive me, Mrs. Pan. I'm afraid I'm in a bit of a bad mood this morning.
Yes, I had noticed. And I'm afraid I've got some more bad news.
Oh.
I got a letter from my sister this morning. She's no better, and if she gets any worse, I shall have to go up to Peterborough and look after her. She's got no one else in the world but me.
Oh, what is it this time?
The old trouble. I told her she ought never to have had that last operation. It did her no good, but her mind was set on it, so I said to her, there's no point in complaining.
Yes. Well, if she wants you, you must go, of course.
Thank you.
I'll go and live at the club for a while. Well, let's hope she gets better soon. Now, I really must be getting along to the office.
Come in.
Wanted to see me, Mr. Sprague?
Ah, yes. Good morning, Finchley. Do sit down.
Thank you.
Now, you remember the Hamerton family, of course.
Very well. We've handled their affairs for the last 10 years.
That's right. There were 5 brothers, all of them wealthy, and only one of them had any children, a son. Now, he's been very lucky. First he got his father's fortune, and then as each brother died, another fortune dropped into his lap. And now the last brother has died, leaving yet another sizable inheritance.
Yes, very fortuitous.
And from what I hear, he'll be glad of it. He seems to have run through the money completely. A man who can spend 4 considerable inheritances so quickly must be quite interesting to talk to. Don't you think, Finchley?
My opinion of a man like that is that he may be interesting, but he's shown a disgraceful lack of self-control. After all, a fortune is a responsibility and should be employed wisely.
Well, maybe you'll tell him that when you meet him.
When I meet him?
Yes. There are various papers he must sign.
But surely he'll call to see you, Mr. Sprague.
Oh, no, he won't. He's not the kind of man who chooses to call and see us. We've got to go and see him. Or rather, you've got to go and see him.
Oh, yes. Where?
In Paris.
I beg your pardon?
In Paris. Mr. Hamerton lives in the south of France, and he doesn't want to come to England. He'll be in Paris on Saturday, and somebody must go and see him.
But why me? I should have thought you'd have liked a trip to Paris, Mr. Sprague.
No, I wouldn't. I don't like the French. All their cigarettes, all their sanitation. Besides, I've got a golf tournament on Saturday. I'm not going to miss it. And you must go, Finchley. And you can speak French, can't you?
Oh, just a little, Mr. Sprague. I was stationed in Boulogne in 1917.
Well, there you are. Now, what day is it today? It's Thursday. Then you can go over tomorrow and see him on Saturday morning. Is that all right?
Yes, Mr. Sprague. I'll phone through about the tickets straight away.
No need. It's all taken care of. Good luck, Finchley.
Goodbye, Mr. Sprague. Or perhaps I should say, au revoir.
Excuse me, Mr. Finchley.
Yes? What is it, Mavis?
I wonder if you could do me a favour. When you're in France, that is.
Good heavens, this office is unbelievable. You can't do anything without everybody knowing. I've only just found out myself. How did you know about my trip?
Mr. Sprague asked me to arrange your tickets.
Oh, I see.
Do you think you could bring me back a couple of things?
Well, it depends on what they are. You're not asking me to smuggle anything through customs, are you?
Oh, of course not. You just declare it.
And what exactly will I be declaring?
Scent and silk stockings. The scent is Molyneux numero 5, the one they call Total Surrender.
Oh, do they?
Yes. And as for the stockings...
Oh, I don't know. I mean, I really don't know anything about silk stockings.
Well, size 9 and in black. Something like this.
Mavis, please, cover yourself up. This is a public place.
Oh, don't be daft, Mr. Finchley. It's only the office. Anyway, you'll see a lot more than that in Paris.
Oh, dear, will I? Now, Mavis, have you got my tickets?
Oh, yes, here they are. You're on the morning boat train from Victoria Station, then you sail from Folkestone to Boulogne. The train at Paris leaves from the harbour.
As the ship steamed out of the harbour, the white cliffs disappeared behind and the swell deepened. Mr. Finchley found a sheltered spot to sit down. Away in the distance, a tramp steamer was drawing a smudge of smoke along the sky, and Mr. Finchley watched it until it passed from his vision. He turned his attention to the person sitting next to him, an intelligent-looking young man who was fidgeting with his horn-rimmed spectacles as he read. But it was something else that caught Finchley's eye, something that was crawling from the man's raincoat pocket. It was long, it was fat, it was green, and it wriggled. It was a caterpillar.
Good Lord.
Well, of course, Mr. Finchley had seen caterpillars before on plants, trees, even on the occasional cauliflower, but to discover a caterpillar on a cross-channel steamer was somewhat unorthodox, and, to further his confusion, 3 more caterpillars came crawling out of the man's raincoat pocket.
How extraordinary.
Finchley watched in astonishment until he felt it was incumbent upon him to inform the young man of this unfortunate infestation.
Excuse me.
Yes?
Sorry to disturb you, but I thought you might like to know that you have several, to be precise, 4 caterpillars crawling over you.
Oh, they're mine. I say, would you mind rescuing them while I get their box out of my pocket?
Oh, well, yes, righto. Come on, you lot.
Look, I didn't close it properly.
Ah. Here you are, then.
Thank you. Hello, there's only 4 here, and there should be 5.
But I only saw 4 crawling over you. Are they a valuable species?
Well, they're not rare, but they are rather valuable at the moment, because I promised to take them across to a friend in Paris, and he particularly asked for 5. You see, I'm an entomologist. Lawrence Hume's the name.
Edgar Finchley, solicitor's clerk. Well, I wonder where the other caterpillar's gone.
Well, I was in the bar for a while, then I sat down on the other side of the boat until it got too drafty, and then I came here.
Perhaps we could find a missing caterpillar for you. Now, you go and look around where you were sitting, and I'll go and have a look in the bar.
Thank you, Mr. Finchley.
Yes, sir. What can I get you?
A glass of beer, please.
Right. There you are, sir.
I don't suppose you've seen a caterpillar in here, have you?
A caterpillar? No, not to my knowledge.
You see, there were 5, and now there are only 4.
Oh, yeah? Are you sure you want that drink, sir?
Of course I do.
Another brandy, please.
Certainly, sir.
Oh, bonjour, monsieur.
Yes, bonjour.
A nice day for the crossing.
Yes, indeed. Oh, my goodness, there it is.
Something is the matter?
No, I just saw something.
Why are you staring at my beret? You have not seen one before?
Oh, yes, of course. You're French, aren't you?
Oh, yes. I have been in England on business, and now I am going home.
You must have sold all your onions, then.
Well, Mr. Finchley, any luck?
Well, yes, sort of.
What on earth are you tapping your head for?
I'm not tapping my head.
You are?
No, not my head. His. Look at the beret.
Ah, there it is. Well done. Have you tried to take it off yet?
Of course not. I can't just pluck a caterpillar from the head of a strange Frenchman. They think all Englishmen are mad as it is.
Monsieur, will you join me in a celebration drink? It is 10 years today since I was married.
Oh, congratulations.
Are you married?
No, I'm not married. I came close to it a couple of evenings ago, but it just didn't work out right.
Oh, never mind. Perhaps you will meet someone else.
Oh, I don't want to meet someone else. I'm still hoping that one day she'll be my wife.
I hope so too, because it is a great pity not to be married.
Why?
Because a man who is not married is missing the unhappiness of love.
Unhappiness?
In France, monsieur, we understand love. We do not believe that it is all rapture. We know that the man who is in love is often an unhappy man. and it is good for a man to be unhappy.
Love may be all right for some men, but for the man of science, for the man of ambition, it's a great nuisance. Taking his mind from his real occupation and disturbing him.
But what about when you're in love?
Actually, I'm inclined to doubt the existence of love, admitting only the biological necessity of the mating instinct in men and women. I shall never get married. I'm an entomologist.
Well, what is that? Oh, a chaser of butterflies, is it not?
Well, I suppose you might call it that, although
I too am fond of butterflies, but it does not stop me from becoming married. It is a pity that butterflies should have to come from caterpillars. No, I do not like them. A butterfly is beautiful, but a caterpillar reminds me of snakes. It is horrible, makes me shudder.
Oh, dear.
Why don't I just ask him?
No, you can't. Not after what he's just said. Leave it to me. Excuse me, monsieur. My pipe seems to have gone out. Could I borrow your matches?
Oh, but of course. Here you are.
Thank you. Oh, dear, how clumsy. Now they're all over the floor.
Oh, please allow me to pick them up.
Oh, you're very kind. Now's your chance, Hume. Go on quickly while he's on his knees.
Right. Got it. Well done, Finchley.
Well done indeed, Mr. Finchley. The caterpillar retrieved, and the Frenchman blissfully unaware of the drama, the rest of the journey passed uneventfully. Late that afternoon, the train from Boulogne drew into the Gare du Nord. Mr. Finchley and his new travelling companion, Lawrence Hume, not to mention the 5 caterpillars, shared a taxi to their respective destinations.
You know Paris well, Hume?
Oh, yes, I travel here quite a lot. And you?
I must confess this is my first visit.
Well, there's an awful lot to see.
I'm afraid this is a business trip. I'm not here to sightsee. I actually have to leave on Sunday.
What a shame. Well, I hope you'll be very comfortable in the Hotel Aki.
At least I know they all speak English there.
Yeah, well, that's why I always stay in the same lodgings with Madame Mignard. It's so much better for my French to be in a totally French atmosphere.
My goodness, that's a bit close for comfort.
It's nothing really typical Parisian driving, I'm afraid.
Really? That gendarme doesn't seem to think so. At least judging by the way he's waving his baton. What do they say?
I think it's best that I don't translate.
Why is he in such a hurry?
Yeah, they always are. The sooner he drops us off, the sooner he can pick up another fare.
But they all seem to be driving like this. They can't all be taxi drivers. I think perhaps I shall travel on the metro from now on.
No, the best way to see Paris is on foot. And that way you see the back street shops, the real Paris, the patisserie, charcuterie.
Now what is it?
Oh, no, it's only a traffic jam. Don't worry, we won't be here long. See? I told you.
Yes, but should we be driving on the pavement?
You must know a shortcut.
Oh, he's nearly knocked that waiter over.
Ah, it's all right, they're used to it. Makes the job more exciting.
Well, I'm not used to it. How much further is it?
Well, it can't be that far. Although I'm not sure which road we're on.
Well, that's the trouble. We're not on any road. Look out!
By the time he arrived at the hotel, Mr. Finchley was in such a state of frightened paralysis that he overpaid and overtipped the frantic driver. He sank exhausted upon his bed and was soon asleep. The next morning, Finchley set out to see Mr. Hamerton at the Hotel Marivaux. It was a fine, fresh morning, and from the confectioner's shops came the smell of newly baked bread and cakes, a warm, inviting odour. People hurried along the pavements, with the ends of their long loaves peeping from their bags, and the newspaper kiosks were hung with magazines and journals of strange title. Arriving at the Hotel Marivaux, Mr. Finchley summoned his best French to ask the clerk for Mr. Hamerton's room.
Quel est le numéro de la chambre de Monsieur Hamerton?
Sir is English. Perhaps we should speak in your native tongue. Huh?
Oh, yes, if you wish. Mr. Hamerton, please.
Hamerton? No, I do not know the name.
You must do. I have an appointment with him at this hotel for this morning.
Then I will check for you. Hamerton. Yes, I beg your pardon, monsieur, you are right. We have a Mr. Hamilton.
Oh, good.
But he is not here.
Ah, you mean he's out at the moment?
No, he has not arrived.
Oh.
We had a room reserved for him, but now he does not come until Tuesday.
Tuesday? Oh, this is ridiculous. The man is really most inconsiderate.
Is there anything I can do, monsieur?
No, I don't think so. I'd just better go back to my hotel and contact the office.
Sprake and Bardwell.
Hello, could I talk to Mr. Sprake, please?
Who's speaking?
Edgar Finchley.
Oh, hello, Mr. Finchley. It's Mavis.
Oh.
Have you got my stockings yet?
No, Mavis, I haven't. And this is an international call, which is costing the firm a lot of money.
All right, I'll put you through. But don't forget, size 9.
Ooh.
Hello, Finchley.
Ah, good afternoon, Mr. Sprake. Mr. Sprake, I'm not quite sure what to do. You see, Mr. Hamilton isn't arriving until Tuesday.
Yes, I know. I've already heard from him this morning. You'd better stay on until then.
Oh, is that all right?
Yes. Oh, don't worry. We'll charge him.
Oh, good.
So you can take the opportunity of seeing a bit of Paris.
Thank you, Mr. Sprake.
Enjoy yourself.
Can I?
Well, that's rather up to you, isn't it? Goodbye.
Yes, I suppose it is. Garçon? A grenadine, silver plate.
In episode 1 of Mr. Finchley Goes to Paris by Victor Canning, Richard Griffiths played the part of Mr. Finchley, Anna Cropper was Mrs. Crantel, James Grout was Mr. Sprake, Jill Graham was Mrs. Patton, Piers Gibbon was Lawrence Hume, James Taylor was David White, Teresa Gallagher was Mavis, and Barry J. Gordon was the Frenchman. The narrator was James Villiers. Mr. Finchley Goes to Paris was adapted for radio by Andy and Eric Merriman, and the producer was Gareth Edwards.